There are certain topics we're told never to talk about. Things we hide behind closed doors. Conversations we shut down before they begin. And among those taboo topics, one sits in the shadows. Uncomfortable, misunderstood, and surrounded by layers of guilt. Masturbation. From the moment we first became aware of our bodies, the message was clear. Don't talk about it. Don't do it. And if you do, don't admit it. It was wrapped in shame, burdened with religious overtones, moral panic, and social silence. Boys were warned they'd go blind, told it would make them weak, unworthy, or even mentally unstable. Some were punished. Others grew up just punishing themselves with internal guilt. And yet, despite generations of stigma, the truth remained unchanged. The human body does not lie. It sends signals. It follows rhythms. It speaks in ways biology understands, even when culture refuses to listen. But now imagine something extraordinary. What if that very thing we've been shamed for, judged for, could actually protect us? What if it wasn't a source of weakness, but a tool for strength? Not a sin, but a shield? This isn't fantasy. This is science asking us to reconsider everything we thought we knew. Let me paint a picture. You're a man in your 20s, 30s, maybe 40s, in the prime of your life. Healthy, active, working hard, maybe raising a family or building your dreams. Prostate cancer? You've heard of it, but it feels far away. A problem for older guys. Someone else's concern. But here's the truth. Prostate cancer is the second most common cancer in men worldwide. It kills silently. It grows slowly, sometimes without symptoms. And by the time many discover it, it's already complicated. Every year, hundreds of thousands of men are diagnosed. Fathers, sons, brothers, friends. The numbers don't lie, but neither does your body. And here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. In recent years, researchers started noticing a peculiar pattern. The men who had lower rates of prostate cancer shared one common behavior: frequent ejaculation. Yes, frequent. More than 21 times a month. That's roughly every day or every other day. It wasn't about their diet, not about their gym routine, not even about avoiding alcohol or smoking. It came down to one overlooked act, an act often done in solitude, never spoken about, and rarely embraced publicly. Suddenly, science was saying something that culture was afraid to hear. Something powerful, something deeply human. Masturbation might actually protect the prostate. Now pause. Let that sink in. The very behavior men were told was dirty or harmful could in fact have biological benefits. Something so simple, so primal, could be flushing toxins, reducing inflammation, cleaning the system in ways we're only beginning to understand. And yet, how many men still walk around with shame? How many fear their own body's needs? How many avoid this topic entirely, living in silence, never knowing that their choices or their repression might one day affect their survival? This isn't about vulgarity. It's not about sensationalism. This is about health, science, survival. We must unlearn the shame that serves no purpose. We must speak the words we were once forbidden to say, because sometimes truth is hidden in the very things we were told to deny. So now, let's confront the facts. Let's separate the myths from the medicine. Let's finally answer the question that echoes in hushed tones across locker rooms, bedrooms, and bathroom stalls. Can masturbation really prevent prostate cancer? Key point 1. What is prostate cancer and why should you care? Prostate cancer is not just a disease. It's a silent crisis that creeps into the lives of millions of men around the world. It doesn't announce itself with sirens or warnings. It waits. It grows. And all too often, it's discovered too late. The prostate is a small gland about the size of a walnut, located just below the bladder in men. Its primary role is to produce seminal fluid, the liquid that carries and nourishes sperm during ejaculation. Though small in size, this gland plays a monumental role in a man's reproductive system. But as men age, this little gland can become a ticking time bomb. Abnormal cells can begin to grow within it, slowly at first, then more aggressively, until one day, what started as a subtle cellular mutation becomes a full-blown malignancy. Prostate cancer affects 1 in 8 men during their lifetime. Let that statistic settle for a moment. That's 1 out of every 8 fathers, sons, brothers, friends. And yet, so many men remain unaware of this risk until it becomes personal, until it knocks on their own door. In its early stages, prostate cancer can be entirely asymptomatic. No pain, no discomfort, no visible sign. That's part of what makes it so dangerous. Men can go years with undetected cancer, all while it silently spreads beyond the prostate to lymph nodes, bones, and organs. Once it escapes the gland, the fight becomes harder. The chance is thinner. There's a reason why awareness campaigns constantly urge men over 40 or 50 to get screened, because early detection can mean the difference between life and death. And yet, because the topic involves the male reproductive system, it is often brushed under the rug, overshadowed by embarrassment, discomfort, or pride. Many men delay screening out of fear. Fear of the process, fear of the results, or fear of confronting their own vulnerability. But fear doesn't stop cancer. Ignorance doesn't shield the body. And silence never saved anyone. The reality is, prostate cancer is more than just a health concern. It's a public health priority. In many parts of the world, it's the most commonly diagnosed cancer among men, second only to skin cancer in the West. And in countries with lower access to regular health care, the mortality rate is even higher, simply because the disease isn't caught early enough. In some cultures, talking about the prostate is taboo. In others, it's simply misunderstood. But regardless of where you live or how open your society is, the truth remains unchanged. The prostate ages, and as it ages, it becomes more vulnerable. There are several known risk factors. Age is one. The older a man gets, the higher the risk. Men over 50 should already be considering regular prostate exams. Race is another. African American men are statistically more likely to develop prostate cancer, and it's often more aggressive when it does occur. Family history also plays a powerful role. If your father or brother had prostate cancer, your own risk doubles. These are factors we can't change. We can't alter our age. We can't choose our genetics. But what about the factors we can influence? What about the things we do every day? How we live, how we eat, how we move, how we take care of our bodies. This is where lifestyle comes into play. Over the years, research has pointed to many modifiable behaviors that may contribute to cancer prevention, including diet, physical activity, smoking, alcohol consumption, and even how frequently a man ejaculates. Yes, you heard that right. Ejaculation frequency, including masturbation, is now being studied as a potential factor in reducing the risk of prostate cancer. That's where this entire conversation takes a turn from traditional risk awareness to something far more personal, far more controversial, and far more human. Before diving into that idea, though, it's important to ground ourselves in the reality of what we're facing. Prostate cancer isn't rare. It's not a 1 in a million diagnosis. It's something millions of men are currently living with or dying from. And while survival rates are high when caught early, especially for localized prostate cancer, the story changes drastically when detection is delayed. Advanced prostate cancer that has spread beyond the gland becomes far more difficult to treat and far more likely to be fatal. One of the biggest barriers to prevention is the lack of open conversation. Men are not always encouraged to speak about their reproductive health. Topics like erectile dysfunction, testicular exams, or prostate health are often wrapped in stigma, viewed as embarrassing or emasculating. This cultural silence leads to ignorance. That ignorance leads to neglect, and neglect opens the door for disease to grow unchecked. This is not about fear-mongering. It's about facing the facts. If you are a man, or if you care about one, this matters. If you are in your 20s, this matters. If you are in your 40s, this matters even more. And if you are 50 or older and haven't been screened, it should be a top priority. Prostate cancer doesn't care about how tough you are. It doesn't care how successful, strong, or silent you are. It grows in silence. It feeds on neglect. The importance of understanding prostate cancer isn't just for those currently at risk. It's for every generation. Young men need to understand what their prostate is, how it functions, and how their lifestyle choices now could affect their health decades down the line. Waiting until symptoms appear is like waiting to put on a seatbelt after a crash. By then, it's too late. We have to shift the mindset from reaction to prevention. And that starts with awareness. What if, in the midst of all the screenings, the lifestyle changes, and the medical innovations, we discovered that something as instinctual as masturbation, something men have done for centuries, quietly, secretly, could offer a layer of protection? What if this behavior, long wrapped in moral panic, could actually be one of the keys to long-term health? What if the science isn't shameful at all, but hopeful? The idea that masturbation might help reduce the risk of prostate cancer is not just clickbait. It's a concept grounded in emerging scientific studies, including long-term observational research involving thousands of men. And while the full picture is still unfolding, it brings an entirely new dimension to how we view men's health. It forces us to challenge the outdated narratives. It invites us to replace shame with science. And most importantly, it opens a door to early conversations, personal awareness, and potentially powerful prevention. Let's walk through that door together. Key point 2, what science says about ejaculation frequency. In recent years, a growing body of scientific research has begun to challenge long-held beliefs about the male body, particularly in relation to prostate health. One of the most eye-opening discoveries has emerged from studies exploring the relationship between ejaculation frequency and the risk of developing prostate cancer. At first glance, the idea seems almost too surprising to be true, that something as ordinary and natural as ejaculation might play a role in protecting one of the most vulnerable organs in a man's body. Yet when scientists set out to investigate this connection, they found patterns too consistent to ignore. One of the most well-known studies on this subject was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, JAMA, a leading authority in medical research. In this long-term study, researchers followed nearly 30,000 men over an 18-year period, collecting detailed information about their ejaculation frequency, medical history, and lifestyle choices. The results were groundbreaking. Men who reported ejaculating at least 21 times per month in their 20s and 40s had a significantly lower risk of developing prostate cancer later in life compared to those who ejaculated only 4 to 7 times per month. In other words, the more frequently men ejaculated, regardless of whether it was through intercourse, masturbation, or nocturnal emissions, the lower their risk appeared to be. This wasn't a marginal difference. The men in the highest ejaculation category had about a 20% reduction in prostate cancer risk compared to those in the lowest category. And while the exact mechanisms behind this association are still being explored, the consistency across studies is compelling. Additional research from various institutions around the world has echoed similar findings, reinforcing the idea that ejaculation may serve as a protective function, not just a reproductive one. What's important to understand here is that the researchers did not focus solely on masturbation. They counted all forms of ejaculation, whether it occurred with a partner, alone, or involuntarily during sleep. The key factor wasn't how it happened. It was how often it happened. That's what makes the data so powerful. It removes the stigma and judgment surrounding the act itself and focuses entirely on the physiological result. Whether you're single, married, sexually active, or abstinent, your body responds to frequency, not circumstance. These findings have forced scientists and doctors to look more closely at the role of the prostate gland and how its regular use might influence its long-term health. The prostate, as a gland responsible for producing and storing seminal fluid, is highly active during ejaculation. When a man ejaculates, the gland contracts and releases built-up fluids. If this happens regularly, it may help keep the gland flushed, clear, and less prone to harmful cellular changes. If not, the theory suggests that stagnant fluid buildup, along with the presence of potential carcinogens, could create an environment where abnormal cells are more likely to develop and thrive. Another important observation from these studies is the long-term consistency of the benefit. It wasn't just about what men did in their 40s or 50s. The protective effect seemed strongest among men who maintained a regular pattern of ejaculation over many years, beginning as early as their 20s. This adds a whole new layer to the discussion around early lifestyle habits and how they influence future disease risk. Most health campaigns emphasize diet, exercise, and avoiding harmful substances like tobacco or alcohol. But perhaps it's time we include regular ejaculation through any safe means as part of that long-term wellness conversation. Still, it's crucial to approach this topic with nuance. These studies show correlation, not absolute causation. That means that while frequent ejaculation is associated with a lower risk of prostate cancer, it doesn't necessarily guarantee protection. There may be other factors at play, such as overall health status, hormone levels, or even the influence of other lifestyle habits. But even with these variables in mind, the data remains promising. It suggests that something as natural and accessible as regular ejaculation may play a role in preventing one of the most common cancers affecting men worldwide. It's also important to consider the implications for men who may not be sexually active. Often, the assumption is that men who are single or celibate are at a disadvantage when it comes to sexual health. But masturbation offers a way to maintain the same level of physiological function as partnered sex without needing another person involved. In this context, masturbation isn't just a sexual outlet, it may be a tool for preventive health. That changes the conversation entirely. It removes shame, it removes judgment, it reframes solo sexual behavior as part of a man's overall strategy for long-term well-being. This research also opens doors for better communication between patients and doctors. For too long, conversations about ejaculation have been left out of the medical room, either due to discomfort or outdated beliefs. But if evidence continues to show that ejaculation frequency is linked to cancer prevention, then doctors may need to start asking different questions, not to judge or pry, but to better understand their patients' habits and risks. And men, in turn, must be willing to speak honestly about something they were taught to keep secret. Ultimately, science is giving us a new lens through which to view an age-old behavior. Instead of shaming or silencing it, we are now beginning to study it, understand it, and perhaps even recommend it, not just for pleasure, but for health. That shift has the power to change how we educate boys and men about their bodies. It could lead to a future where prostate cancer rates begin to fall, not just because of medicine and surgery, but because of awareness, openness, and prevention rooted in everyday habits. The science isn't complete yet. More research is needed to fully confirm the mechanisms behind ejaculation's protective effect. But the message so far is clear. Regular ejaculation may be more than just a physical release. It might be part of your body's natural defense system, one worth paying attention to. Key point 3. The biological theory behind the link. While the scientific studies clearly show a correlation between frequent ejaculation and a reduced risk of prostate cancer, the question remains, why? What is actually happening inside the male body that could explain this protective effect? The answer lies deep within the biology of the prostate gland, and in understanding how the regular release of seminal fluid may impact cellular health, toxin removal, and hormonal balance. This is where theory meets biology, and where simple, often overlooked bodily functions may hold the key to one of men's most threatening diseases. The prostate is a gland responsible for producing a significant portion of the fluid that makes up semen. Over time, this fluid builds up in preparation for ejaculation. When a man ejaculates, the prostate contracts, releasing this fluid into the urethra to be expelled from the body. If ejaculation occurs regularly, this fluid is continually cycled, refreshed, and cleared out. However, if ejaculation is infrequent, the fluid remains stagnant in the gland for prolonged periods. This is where the first key biological theory comes into play, the flushing hypothesis. According to this hypothesis, regular ejaculation may help to flush out potential carcinogens and inflammatory agents that accumulate in the prostate over time. Much like a car engine that performs better with regular oil changes, the prostate may function more efficiently and stay healthier when it is routinely emptied of its secretions. If those secretions sit for too long, they may begin to break down, allowing harmful substances to remain in close contact with the cells lining the prostate. Over time, this may contribute to DNA damage, inflammation, and eventually abnormal cell growth, the starting point for cancer. Another important biological factor is inflammation. Chronic inflammation has long been linked to cancer, not just in the prostate, but throughout the body. When tissues become inflamed, the affected cells begin to behave abnormally. The immune system, constantly stimulated by the inflammation, may eventually become less effective at recognizing and destroying abnormal cells. In the prostate, this low-grade, Persistent inflammation can create the perfect environment for cancerous cells to grow unnoticed. Some researchers believe that infrequent ejaculation could contribute to this chronic inflammation by allowing stagnation and oxidative stress to build within the gland. Regular ejaculation, by contrast, may help reduce this risk by keeping the gland's environment healthier and more balanced. There's also the consideration of hormonal regulation. Testosterone and other androgens play a central role in prostate health. While testosterone itself doesn't cause prostate cancer, the way it interacts with prostate cells can influence cell growth. Ejaculation may have a role in helping the body maintain a more stable hormonal rhythm. It may regulate local hormone concentrations inside the prostate tissue, especially when paired with other lifestyle habits such as physical activity and stress management. When hormonal activity remains stable and regulated, the chances of abnormal cell proliferation may decrease. Additionally, some scientists suggest that frequent ejaculation may promote a process called apoptosis, or programmed cell death. This is the body's natural way of cleaning out old, damaged, or potentially dangerous cells. If prostate cells are regularly stimulated through ejaculation, the gland may more efficiently identify and dispose of damaged cells before they become cancerous. This internal maintenance system is vital for long-term organ health. When apoptosis fails or is disrupted, that's when abnormal cells can begin to grow unchecked, leading to tumors. There's also a theory rooted in reproductive biology. The male body is evolutionarily designed for reproduction. From a biological perspective, ejaculation is not just a pleasure mechanism. It's a necessary function tied to reproductive fitness and overall male health. Just like other physiological systems that require regular activity to stay in optimal shape, such as muscles needing exercise or lungs needing oxygen, the reproductive system may require regular ejaculation to maintain peak function. When this system is left dormant for too long, it may experience dysregulation or inefficiencies that lead to health problems and effects, including an increased susceptibility to cancer. Furthermore, the oxidative stress theory provides another explanation. Oxidative stress occurs when the body's balance between free radicals and antioxidants is disrupted. Free radicals are unstable molecules that can damage DNA and contribute to aging and disease. The prostate, due to its role in fluid production and exposure to hormonal shifts, is particularly vulnerable to oxidative damage. Regular ejaculation may reduce oxidative stress within the gland by promoting better circulation, decreasing fluid retention, and supporting healthier cellular environments. By keeping oxidative stress in check, the prostate may be less likely to undergo the types of DNA mutations that lead to cancer. Finally, consider the neurological and psychological impact. While not directly related to cancer formation, stress and mental health are intimately linked with immune function. Chronic stress can lower immune surveillance, the body's ability to detect and destroy early cancer cells. Ejaculation, especially through masturbation, has been shown to reduce stress and promote relaxation by releasing dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. A relaxed mind supports a healthier immune response, which indirectly contributes to cancer prevention. The more relaxed and hormonally balanced a man is, the better equipped his body is to defend itself at the microscopic level. All of these biological theories converge on one core idea. The male reproductive system was not meant to be stagnant. It is a dynamic, active system that requires regular engagement to function optimally. And when that engagement is consistent, it appears to support not only sexual satisfaction, but also long-term organ health, particularly in the prostate. While no theory is complete or conclusive, the emerging science paints a compelling picture, one where a natural biological act serves not just reproductive ends, but preventative health as well. These theories don't exist in isolation. They are part of a broader scientific effort to understand how lifestyle, behavior, and biology intersect in the development and prevention of disease. And as more research is conducted, the medical community continues to take this link more seriously. The idea that ejaculation, including through masturbation, could play a protective role in prostate health is no longer just a theory whispered in niche health blogs. It's entering the mainstream medical discussion, slowly but undeniably. And in this conversation, men are being asked not just to listen, but to take action. Not out of fear, but out of understanding. Because when biology speaks, it's time we start listening, especially if it could save lives. Key point 4, masturbation versus sexual activity. Does it matter? When the conversation turns to ejaculation and prostate health, one common question inevitably arises. Does it really matter how ejaculation occurs? Is there a difference between ejaculating through masturbation versus sexual intercourse when it comes to protecting the prostate? It's a fair question, and for many, it stems from deeply rooted cultural beliefs and personal assumptions. And some believe that only sex within a relationship is meaningful or healthy. Others see masturbation as something lesser, something shameful, something that doesn't count. But the science has a much simpler, much more direct answer. The body doesn't care how it happens, only that it does. According to the leading studies conducted on this topic, including the widely referenced research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, the protective effect observed in men who ejaculate more frequently applies to all forms of ejaculation. Whether it's through partnered sex, solo masturbation, or even involuntary nocturnal emissions, the health benefits remain consistent. This means that from a biological standpoint, masturbation is just as valid and effective as intercourse in maintaining prostate function and potentially reducing cancer risk. This finding is powerful because it challenges a lot of societal conditioning. For generations, masturbation has been surrounded by stigma, guilt, and moral judgment. It's been labeled as selfish, lazy, sinful, or even damaging. In contrast, sex with a partner has often been idealized, seen as the proper or legitimate form of sexual expression. But when we strip away the emotional and cultural filters and focus strictly on the body, the truth is far more straightforward. The prostate gland's biological response is not concerned with the emotional context, relationship status, or moral lens through which the ejaculation occurred. It responds to frequency, not philosophy. This revelation is especially important for men who are single, celibate, widowed, or in relationships where sex may be infrequent due to age, illness, or other life circumstances. These men may not have consistent access to partnered sex, but they still have full control over their personal habits. And if regular ejaculation truly plays a role in protecting prostate health, then masturbation becomes more than just a physical release. It becomes a tool for preventive self-care. It's not about indulgence or escapism. It's about physiology. For many, this can be liberating. It removes the hierarchy between sexual activities and levels the playing field. It means that men don't have to depend on another person to take care of their sexual health. It gives agency back to the individual. In a world where men are often taught to suppress their emotional and physical needs, acknowledging masturbation as a healthy, even necessary biological function can be a significant shift toward better well-being. It also breaks down dangerous myths. One common belief is that masturbation is somehow less healthy than sex, or that it leads to physical weakness, fatigue, or emotional disconnection. These ideas are not backed by science. In fact, many of them stem from outdated religious teachings or cultural superstitions that have little basis in biology. When done in moderation, masturbation has been shown to offer a wide range of health benefits, from stress relief and improved mood to better sleep and reduced anxiety. And now, potentially, we can add prostate protection to that list. The research doesn't indicate any difference in cancer risk reduction between masturbation and intercourse. That means whether a man is in a long-term relationship, casually dating, or entirely single, he still has full access to this possible protective behavior. It also levels the field for men across different cultures and lifestyles. In societies where premarital or extramarital sex is frowned upon, men can still take care of their sexual health privately and without shame. This universality is what makes the data so compelling. It speaks to every man, regardless of background, relationship status, or sexual orientation. It also opens the door to conversations about sexual autonomy and body ownership. When men understand that their health is quite literally in their own hands, it empowers them to take action without waiting for external validation or permission. It means that they can build routines and habits that serve their long-term health, even if no one else is involved. This shift in perspective can help reduce feelings of isolation, inadequacy, or shame that often accompany private sexual behavior. There's also the psychological benefit of normalizing masturbation within the health and wellness conversation. When a behavior is tied directly to a positive health outcome, like reduced cancer risk, it reframes the act entirely. It becomes something men can talk about with their doctors, something they can include in their wellness plans, something that no longer has to be hidden in the shadows. And that openness can lead to broader conversations about mental health, stress management, and sexual well-being. On a societal level, this shift in understanding could have long-term ripple effects. If young men are taught from an early age that masturbation is a normal, healthy, and even protective behavior, it can reduce the shame and secrecy that often lead to misinformation and anxiety. It encourages a generation of men who are more in tune with their bodies, more willing to seek medical advice, and more proactive about their health. And that shift could save lives. None of this is to say that masturbation is a magic bullet. It's not a replacement for regular medical checkups, a healthy diet, exercise, or screenings. But it is a piece of the puzzle, a natural, free, accessible action that may contribute to better prostate health. And in a world where so many men suffer in silence, where diseases like prostate cancer continue to claim lives due to late detection or lack of awareness, every piece matters. So the next time someone asks whether masturbation counts, the answer is simple: yes. Your body recognizes it, your prostate responds to it, and the science supports it. Whether through intimacy with a partner or through time spent alone, what matters most is not how, but how often. And understanding that difference could be a crucial step toward reclaiming control over your health. Beyond cancer, other health benefits of masturbation. While the conversation around masturbation and prostate health has gained traction due to its potential role in cancer prevention, it would be a mistake to view that as the only benefit. In truth, the act of masturbation plays a much broader role in male physical, mental, and emotional health. For something so natural, so universally practiced across age groups and cultures, masturbation remains one of the most misunderstood and undervalued health behaviors. It's more than just a sexual release. It's a form of self-regulation, stress relief, emotional grounding, and even immune system support. The body isn't just reacting to pleasure, it's recalibrating itself in real, measurable ways. One of the most immediate and well-documented benefits of masturbation is its effect on stress and anxiety reduction. When a man masturbates, his body releases a cocktail of neurochemicals, including dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. These are the same chemicals responsible for feelings of happiness, relaxation, bonding, and pain relief. This neurological response is similar to what happens after exercise or meditation. It shifts the body from a heightened state of tension into one of calm and ease. For men dealing with daily stress, anxiety disorders, or emotional pressure, masturbation can provide a quick, healthy reset. No substances, no side effects, no external dependencies. Closely linked to that is the improvement of sleep quality. After orgasm, the body naturally lowers its cortisol levels and increases melatonin, the hormone responsible for promoting restful sleep. This is why many men report feeling drowsy or deeply relaxed after ejaculation. For individuals who suffer from insomnia or irregular sleep patterns, masturbation before bed can be a simple and natural way to signal the body that it's time to rest. Good sleep is essential for immune health, mental clarity, emotional balance, and hormone regulation, all of which contribute to disease prevention and longevity. Masturbation also plays a key role in maintaining healthy sexual function. Just like muscles need to be used to stay strong, the sexual organs and systems also benefit from regular activation. Men who masturbate regularly tend to have better blood flow to the genital area, improved erectile function, and more consistent hormonal balance. It keeps the pathways of arousal and response sharp, which is particularly important as men age. Regular ejaculation through masturbation can help prevent erectile dysfunction, reduce the risk of sexual performance anxiety, and maintain libido. It's a way of staying in touch with one's own body and understanding its rhythms and responses. There's also the benefit of enhancing self-awareness and body confidence. Masturbation allows men to explore their own desires, boundaries, and physical sensitivities in a safe and private setting. This is especially important for young men who are just beginning to understand their sexuality, as well as for older men navigating changes due to age, illness, or relationship transitions. By knowing what feels good, what triggers arousal, and what creates discomfort, men are better prepared to communicate with partners, improve intimacy, and make informed sexual choices. That self-knowledge contributes to emotional maturity and healthier relationships. From a psychological perspective, masturbation can be a form of emotional grounding. It can serve as a moment of self-connection, especially during times of loneliness, grief, depression, or stress. While it should never be used as a sole coping mechanism for deep emotional pain, when done mindfully and in balance, it can offer temporary comfort and a sense of control during difficult periods. In moments when the world feels overwhelming or relationships feel out of reach, self-pleasure can provide a sense of wholeness and affirmation. In addition to emotional regulation, masturbation may also support immune system function. Some studies suggest that orgasm, including through masturbation, can increase levels of certain immune cells such as white blood cells and immunoglobulins. While the effect may be temporary, it's yet another sign that sexual health and immune health are interconnected. Ejaculation also causes a temporary rise in heart rate and breathing, not unlike mild cardio exercise. Over time, this can contribute to cardiovascular health when paired with other forms of physical activity. Masturbation can also be a healthy outlet for managing sexual urges in a way that's safe, private, and without consequences like STIs or unplanned pregnancies. For men who are not in a relationship or who are practicing celibacy, masturbation offers a responsible way to meet their body's natural needs without guilt or external risk. It creates a pressure valve, allowing for release without compromising values, safety, or lifestyle choices. In that way, it promotes responsible sexuality, self-control, and emotional maturity. For men struggling with sexual performance anxiety, masturbation can also be a therapeutic tool. By practicing in a low-pressure setting, men can regain confidence in their arousal patterns, learn to manage premature ejaculation, or explore techniques to prolong pleasure. This kind of self-directed exploration is often recommended by therapists and sexual health counselors as part of a broader treatment plan for sexual dysfunction. It allows men to approach their bodies with curiosity rather than judgment, and with patience instead of panic. Even in relationships, masturbation has its place. While some may view it as a threat to intimacy, many therapists encourage couples to view solo pleasure as a complement, not a competitor, to partnered sex. It can reduce pressure within the relationship, support mismatched libidos, and allow both partners to maintain a connection to their individual sexual identities. In long-distance relationships, during periods of abstinence, or in cases of illness or stress, masturbation helps maintain the sexual bond without the need for physical presence. The bottom line is simple. Masturbation is not just about pleasure. It's about maintenance. It's about health. It's about knowing your body, listening to it, and responding in ways that support long-term wellness. From improving mood and sleep to supporting sexual and immune function, the benefits are clear. They are backed by science, supported by therapists, and affirmed by countless men who experience these effects firsthand. And yet, despite all of this, the shame persists. The silence lingers. Many men still carry guilt for something their body naturally craves. They were told it was wrong. They were taught to hide it. And in doing so, they were denied access to one of the simplest forms of self-care available to them. It's time to change that. It's time to replace embarrassment with education and silence with science. Because when we understand the full spectrum of benefits, masturbation becomes more than just a private habit. It becomes a public health conversation, and every man deserves to be part of it. Key point 6, breaking the stigma, the cultural shame surrounding masturbation. Despite the growing body of research highlighting the potential health benefits of masturbation, one of the greatest barriers preventing men from embracing it as a normal and even necessary part of self-care is the deeply ingrained cultural stigma. This stigma isn't based on science. it isn't supported by medical evidence. It's rooted in centuries of moral judgment, religious doctrine, societal discomfort, and misinformation. And even today, in a time when we talk openly about mental health, sexual identity, and body positivity, masturbation remains one of the last untouchable subjects, especially for men. From a young age, boys are often sent subtle and sometimes overt messages that touching themselves is wrong. In many households, religious communities, and school systems, masturbation is treated as something shameful, a sinful act, a dirty secret, a sign of weakness or perversion. They're told that doing it too much will make them sick, infertile, or mentally unstable, that they'll grow hair on their palms or go blind, that it's something to be hidden, never discussed, and certainly never accepted as part of a healthy lifestyle. These ideas are not only false, they're dangerous. This culture of shame creates a cycle of silence. Men grow up believing that their natural desires are something to suppress or punish. They learn to lie about their habits, to feel guilt every time they act on instinct, and to distance themselves from their own bodies. And this disconnection doesn't stay isolated to masturbation. It spills into every aspect of their emotional and sexual lives. They struggle to talk openly with partners. They avoid discussing health issues with doctors. They suppress emotional needs out of fear of judgment or emasculation. The result is not just individual confusion, it's widespread ignorance. This is especially harmful when it comes to prostate health. If masturbation truly does help reduce the risk of prostate cancer, then the stigma around it isn't just outdated, it's life-threatening. Men avoiding natural release because of shame could unknowingly be increasing their long-term health risks. That's the tragic irony. The very behavior they were taught to hide might be the one that helps protect them from disease. But how can they embrace something they've been taught to be ashamed of? The answer begins with education. When young men are taught accurate information about their bodies, when they understand the biological purpose of ejaculation and the role of the prostate, they begin to see masturbation not as something shameful, but as a form of personal health maintenance. Just like brushing their teeth or exercising, it becomes part of a routine to keep their body functioning at its best. No shame, no guilt, just biology and responsibility. It also requires changing the conversation in homes, schools, clinics, and communities. Parents, educators, and health professionals need to stop avoiding the topic or addressing it with euphemisms and fear. Instead, they should offer facts, foster safe conversations, and reassure young people that what they're experiencing is normal and natural. This doesn't mean encouraging obsession or reckless behavior. It means guiding them toward balance, honesty, and understanding. When boys grow up with truth instead of fear, they become men who respect their bodies and make informed decisions. Religious and cultural communities, too, must evolve in their approach. While moral values will always shape personal choices, those values should not come at the cost of health. Masturbation is not a moral failing. It is a biological function. If moderation is emphasized, and if the act is understood within the broader context of well-being and personal integrity, then even conservative communities can approach the subject with compassion instead of condemnation. The goal should never be shame. It should be wisdom. The media also plays a role. For decades, masturbation has been portrayed in movies and TV as a joke, a punchline, or a symbol of loneliness and failure. Rarely is it shown as a healthy, normal part of life. These portrayals reinforce harmful stereotypes and prevent men from seeing their own habits in a positive light. It's time for media to depict male sexuality, especially solo sexuality, in a more honest human way, not to glorify or exploit it, but to normalize it, to let men know they're not alone, not broken, not dirty. Even in adult relationships, the stigma lingers. Many couples avoid the topic altogether, or worse, treat it as a betrayal. But masturbation doesn't threaten intimacy. It can support it. It gives partners space to explore their own bodies, manage mismatched libidos, and reduce pressure on the relationship. When communication is open, and when both partners understand that solo pleasure doesn't mean rejection or secrecy, it can actually enhance trust and connection. But for all this to happen, the first step must come from within. Each man must confront the messages he was taught and ask whether they serve him. He must separate cultural noise from biological truth. He must give himself permission to understand, accept, and care for his body without guilt. This is not about indulgence. It's not about rebellion. It's about ownership. It's about saying, this is my body. These are its needs, and I will care for it with respect, honesty, and responsibility. Only then can we begin to dismantle the shame that has haunted generations. Only then can we replace secrecy with science. And only then can we make masturbation what it has always been. Not a taboo, not a sin, but a simple, healthy human act. One that doesn't define a man's worth, but might just help protect his life. Key point 7. Why this conversation matters more than ever. In a world where men's health issues are too often overlooked, ignored, or minimized, conversations like this about masturbation, prostate health, and cancer prevention matter more than ever before. Not just because they challenge old myths or present interesting scientific findings, but because they address a real and growing crisis in men's health. Prostate cancer remains one of the most diagnosed cancers among men globally. Yet, despite this alarming reality, discussions around prevention remain disturbingly scarce. Most men don't learn about the risks until it's too late. Most don't understand the role their daily habits may play in long-term outcomes. And even fewer have access to information without it being filtered through embarrassment, judgment, or silence. We live in an age where information is abundant, but understanding is still limited. The internet is filled with content, some educational, some misleading, about masturbation. It's portrayed as either hypersexual indulgence or a sign of weakness. But rarely is it presented through the lens of holistic health. Rarely do we see it discussed as a potential tool in the fight against disease. And rarer still is the honest acknowledgement that this private, instinctive act might be a simple form of self-defense against a deadly condition that creeps in without warning. This matters because it affects millions of men, fathers, brothers, sons, husbands, friends. When men are kept in the dark about their bodies, when they're made to feel shame instead of confidence, the cost isn't just emotional, it's physical. Diseases grow in the dark, and silence, in this case, can be fatal. That's why every word spoken on this topic, every effort to normalize the discussion, is a step toward saving lives. We are not talking about a moral debate. We are not advocating for indulgence or irresponsibility. We are simply putting health over taboo, science over shame, truth over tradition. This conversation also matters because it empowers. When men learn that they have some control, even partial, over their risk of developing prostate cancer, it changes the dynamic. It transforms them from passive recipients of fate into active participants in their well-being. Instead of waiting for symptoms, they can start acting now. Instead of dreading checkups, they can start embracing self-awareness. And instead of feeling embarrassed about their natural instincts, they can understand them as part of a much larger biological system that is constantly working to protect and preserve their lives. It also changes how we view aging. As men grow older, they often feel a sense of decline, physical, sexual, emotional. But regular ejaculation, whether through sex or masturbation, is not just about staying young or active. It's about maintaining the body's natural rhythm. It's about keeping systems flushed, balanced, and responsive. It's about choosing to stay connected to your own body in a world that often encourages men to disconnect and ignore pain until it becomes unbearable. And for the younger generation, this matters too. Boys growing up today are surrounded by conflicting messages, over-sexualized media on one hand, and outdated moral panic on the other. They're told to explore and express, but also to restrain and hide. In this confusion, many develop unhealthy relationships with their own bodies, filled with guilt, secrecy, or obsession. But if they are given accurate, age-appropriate, science-based education about masturbation and health, they can develop balance. They can grow up without shame, they can take pride in their bodies, and understand how to care for them with responsibility and awareness. This conversation isn't just for the doctor's office. It's for classrooms, living rooms, locker rooms, and bedrooms. It's for partners to understand one another, for parents to educate their sons, for friends to talk honestly, for men, young and old, to recognize that their health isn't just a collection of symptoms, it's a system, one that includes the prostate. one that responds to habits, and one that deserves care, attention, and open dialogue. Finally, this conversation matters because it humanizes. Too often, discussions about men's health are reduced to cold statistics and distant headlines, but behind every number is a life. A man who didn't know, a man who waited too long, a man who never had the chance to ask, to learn, to take action. We can change that, not by preaching, not by shaming, but by informing, by offering tools, by encouraging curiosity instead of fear, and by treating the body, all of it, with the dignity it deserves. When we talk about masturbation in the context of health, we're not talking about something crude or embarrassing. We're talking about something biological, something natural, something potentially life-saving. We're talking about ownership, awareness, and prevention. And if that makes some people uncomfortable, then it only proves how urgently this conversation needs to happen, again and again, until the stigma breaks and the silence lifts. Because the truth is simple. This matters. Not in whispers, not behind closed doors, but out loud, in the open, where men can hear it and finally start to heal. Claiming control over men's health. In the end, this conversation is not just about one act. It's not simply about masturbation, or prostate cancer, or even ejaculation frequency. It's about ownership over the male body, over male health, and over the choices that shape long-term well-being. For too long, men have been conditioned to ignore warning signs, suppress curiosity, and treat their own biology as something to be feared or hidden. The consequences of that silence have been staggering. Lives lost, diseases caught too late, and generations of men living disconnected from their most basic needs. But knowledge changes everything. The moment science began uncovering the links between ejaculation and prostate health, it opened a new door, one that leads to prevention, empowerment, and personal agency. And through that door is the opportunity for men to engage with their health, not just at the crisis point, but in their daily lives, through informed, balanced, and shameless habits, through conversations that are honest instead of awkward, through actions that are private, yes, but never shameful. This is a chance to rewrite the narrative, to move beyond judgment and discomfort and into a space of responsibility and truth. Because taking care of the body should never be embarrassing. And understanding how that body works in all its complexity, desire, and function is not only a right, it's a necessity. So whether you are a man navigating your own health journey, a parent raising a son, a partner trying to understand, or a health professional committed to education, this message is for you. Don't wait for disease to start the conversation. Start it now. Make it normal. Make it honest. Make it matter. Because what's at stake isn't just comfort, it's life. And every man deserves the knowledge, the freedom, and the confidence to protect it.